So today I'm bringing you a late Halloween horror. This is going to be one of my silliest and dumbest tests I've ever done. Okay, admittedly, I've surely done something dumber than this, but you know what I mean. In fact, I'll take the most expensive GPU, a graphics card, and will pair it with one of the cheapest modern CPUs that I have. That would for one be the $1,400 to $1,500 RTX 2080 Ti graphics card and the $60 AMD Athlon 200GE dual-core CPU, or rather APU. I will try to game with this kind of configuration, and what the result may look like, most of you most likely already know. Me too, I know what to expect. This will be an ugly mess, that's what I can tell you right away. Please do not try this at home. I repeat, do not try this at home. That's incredibly dangerous for your wallet, and the consequential damages that only one psychotherapist would be able to fix would cost a lot of money. So leave this kind of test to a professional with minor to severe mental injuries, such as myself for instance. Alright, but in all seriousness, I am fully aware this more or less is an absurd video. Nonetheless, for those that haven't experienced bottlenecks yet and don't know the effects of such, well, this extreme case could be the perfect demo. And before some of you say the 200GE isn't the cheapest processor, no, by that I mean one of the more modern CPUs. Sure, there definitely are cheaper ones out there, but that's not what this video is about. Alright, let's briefly take a look at the specs of those two components. It's a difference like day and night. So someone with common sense normally wouldn't pair these two PC parts together. But oh well, I'll bring you this live demo, so to speak, with the FPS displayed. All games will be played at a resolution of 2560 by 1440 at maxed out graphics settings, just like you normally would do with an RTX 2080 Ti. To be honest, 1440p already seems to be quite low for this kind of monster. Alright, in Battlefield 1, as you can see, the average frame rate doesn't even look too bad. Sure, it's low for a 2080 Ti, but undoubtedly, with 60 to 70 frames per second, that's usually considered more than playable. The 1% lows, however, in its 30 FPS mark isn't very impressive. You definitely do feel some micro-stuttering, not much, but it's certainly there. Similar results can be achieved in Far Cry 5, except for the slightly lower average frame rate. For this kind of beast of a graphics card, that's a huge disappointment in fact, but the processor clearly is at fault here, which limits the GPU's performance. Nevertheless, it's still a playable experience. In the what's probably the most optimized games of all, with a healthy doses of sarcasm involved of course, the results almost couldn't have turned out any more awful. We are not even achieving the 30 FPS mark, and the lows are just terrible to put it mildly. See for yourselves, it's lagging horribly I tell ya. One of my personal favorites has always been Tomb Raider, and it is still to this day. The new Shadow of the Tomb Raider does teach us a very valuable lesson on why we should hate bottlenecks apparently, and quite honestly, I wouldn't be able to finish the game like this, even if I tried. Constantly that nasty lag, and things surely wouldn't be looking too good in intense battles. So this game sure does run as horrible as it can get with this dual-core Athlon CPU. So does anything change when trying out its 2-year-old predecessor? Okay, I admit it runs a lot smoother already. So in an emergency type of situation, I could at least play the game like that, but it's an unpleasant experience nonetheless. Although I did discover low frame rates don't bother me as much in the Tomb Raider games. One title that finally seems to run more or less somewhat acceptable is GTA 5. Here we are hovering around the 40 to 60 FPS mark, the lows being in their high 30s. Far away from ideal of course, but it's okay I guess. We don't experience as much micro-stuttering here as you can see. When it comes down to Doom, it seems that game doesn't seem to care what CPU we're playing with, as far as it's somewhat modern. We get like 150 FPS or more, and slightly above 100 in the lows. Well, in terms of gaming experience, I can't complain. And now, here comes Crysis 3, a slightly older title, but just as its old legend from 2007 still requires pretty capable hardware. And it obviously puts this absurd configuration situation of mine down with ease. It's almost painful to watch. Obviously a very CPU intensive game. 30 FPS at maxed out settings would only be achievable in the sweetest dreams, and those 1% lows, that's what nightmares are made of. But let's end this video in a more positive note with the game The Witcher 3, and this is where the system does run somewhat well, very playable indeed. Of course, not ideal results, but it seems this game does at least somewhat forgive us our poor CPU choice. So the conclusion here is, for God's sake, do not pair a slow processor with one of the most expensive graphics cards you can buy. Common sense would normally already tell us that, so I doubt anyone would have gotten that insane idea anyway. Okay, to be fair, the idea in itself is no problem, just don't make it a reality. I find this to be a good demonstration of a bottleneck in an extreme case. The graphics card can't even be utilized to 100% anymore, since in simple words, the processor can't process the data fast enough, therefore is a heavy limiting factor. Keep in mind, our PC is only as fast as its weakest link, so when it comes to gaming, that would be the CPU and graphics card and a little bit of RAM. And I don't think there's anything else left I could say here. I hope you enjoyed this, well, let's call it special video, even though it could be deemed as unnecessary. And with that said, thanks for watching.